Last season, the 49ers were Super Bowl contenders, but now they're fighting for their playoff lives. After a crushing loss to the Seahawks, the cracks are showing missed chances, costly mistakes, and a team that just doesn't look like the 49ers we've come to know. Can they turn it around, or is this season slipping away for good? Let's break it all down. The air in the locker room after Sunday's crushing 20-17 loss to the Seattle Seahawks was heavy with frustration and resignation. Nobody tried to sugarcoat it, and honestly, nobody even seemed to have the energy to try. At 5-5, the 49ers are watching their playoff hopes slip through their fingers. Their offense had a chance to close it out, but couldn't run down the clock with a 4-point lead. Their defense had a chance to rise up, but couldn't stop Geno Smith and the Seahawks when it counted. For the third time this season, they let a fourth quarter lead against a division rival evaporate. And they simply couldn't overcome losing George Kittle for the game or Nick Bosa for most of the second half. It wasn't just a loss, it was a punch to the gut, the kind that makes you question what's left to fight for. They couldn't emerge from this season-long funk and turn into their better selves, because maybe that's not who they are, or who they are going to be this season. It's not like us, Fred Warner said. But that's just what we've shown this year, so I guess until we stop doing that, then that's who we are. That was as blunt as Fred Warner has ever been, but even the most hopeful team leader would struggle to hide their concern at this point. Earlier in the season, the 49ers let games slip away with poor special teams performance and careless mistakes. They've suffered losses due to injuries, turnovers, and lapses on defense. They've tried convincing themselves that a win here or there signaled a turnaround. But the same issues keep resurfacing. This is a team known for dominating the second half of the season, climbing the standings and surging into the playoffs. Yet here they are in November, losing ground. With Nick Bosa expressing doubts about returning from his second hip injury in as many weeks in time for next Sunday, there's little to suggest they're poised for the kind of winning streak they desperately need. And that's precisely what's required. The 49ers are a game behind Arizona in the NFC West and 2 games out of the final NFC wildcard spot. To make matters worse, they face consecutive tough matchups on the road against Green Bay and Buffalo. I think that's our mindset for sure. It's to win every single game, Brock Purdy said. You gotta do it one game at a time, can't look too far ahead. Up next is Green Bay. We all have to lean in on that and not look up. We just have to look down and do our jobs, get better as a unit. Can this 49ers team pull off a perfect 7-0 finish to storm into the playoffs? Or maybe come close with a strong 6-1 record? Or at the very least, grind out a 5-2 finish to reach 10-7 and hope for a miracle in the T-breakers, even though they're already in poor shape on that front. So far, nothing about this season suggests they're capable of it. From whispers of a Super Bowl hangover to preseason contract disputes with Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams, to devastating season-ending injuries to Javon Hargrave and Ayuk, and a long list of other setbacks, this season has been riddled with issues. Things just aren't clicking the way they should. That said, it's not a complete disaster. They're 5-5, not languishing at 1-9. Joe and Jennings shown again on Sunday. Brock Purdy has been inconsistent, but he's far from the team's biggest problem. Trent Williams battled through the game with an injured ankle and still played at his usual high level. Nick Bosa dominated while he was on the field. The young defense has potential. They only faltered at the very end. This isn't a bad team. It has the foundation of a great one. It just hasn't come together yet. But nothing's at full go. Everything's a bit stymied. It's kind of hard to think about the big picture right now, Bosa said, but we have a lot of games left. What we've got to do is get in the dance. I definitely still have confidence. Just last season, the 49ers were in the Super Bowl and had made it to the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row. Now, they face a 7-game stretch where every matchup feels like a fight for their playoff survival. For a team with this much pride and pedigree, it's a stunning turn of events. While the coaches and players might not openly admit it, there's no denying their disappointment at being in this position. The frustration was written all over Kyle Shanahan's face, And the somber tone of his players' post-game responses made it clear. Everyone knows exactly what's at stake. Obviously, we put our backs against the wall, Williams said. So we've got to come out swinging. On Sunday, the 49ers couldn't run the ball consistently. Christian McCaffrey ran it 19 times for 79 yards, with a long of only 11, and blamed himself for a few clunky runs. The 49ers also didn't get any explosive passing plays. Purdy completed 21 of 28 attempts for only 157 yards, a meager 5.7-yard average per attempt, with a long of only 22 yards. And Shanahan repeated multiple times that crippling penalties killed off a couple of drives. Remarkably, the 49ers avoided any major special teams disasters this week, though Jordan Mason did muff a punt return, narrowly saving possession by knocking the ball out of bounds. And after last week's struggles, Jake Moody delivered, going 1 for 1 on field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points.